Some men just want to watch the world turn and leave me here. This is In the Garage.
Do 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 do. Hello and welcome to In the Garage. It's the podcast for boys who love to sweat and hear some cool tunes. Guys, as Rob Thomas once said, it's a hot one. It's been quite a while since
It's been a hefty hiatus.
It's been quite a while since we've recorded an ep. And in the interim, the long winter has turned into a speedy summer. So, you know, there's always pros and cons with that. The In the Garage recording studio is a
festooned with dead flies.
Is a famously warm apartment.
Humid, burning furnace.
The worst part is that we cannot open the windows because we live on a major intersection.
Yeah, we
very
almost
noisy.
recorded on Saturday night, only to realize that the sound of police cars and
Gunshots.
Oh yeah, there was a
homicide.
There was.
No, that was Friday.
There was a murder one block away the previous evening, so we didn't want to take any chances. So we waited.
We didn't want to steal that guy's thunder.
We waited shortly.
In the news cycle.
Oh, that is terrible. I had a lot of mutual friends with him.
It's a terrible tragedy, yes.
But what's really important is the band Weezer. And to that end, we are going to do a podcast about them. My name is Chris. You can call me the beating hot sun streaming down your face. As always, I have my two co-hosts with me today. First up, he is wearing what I refer to as a shortened dashiki. He's got some Adidas shorts and some very exposed thighs. It's Chaz.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing it great, Chaz. What's been up with you during our long hiatus?
Oh, well,
any movies you guys have seen lately?
Yeah,
we saw
new cool
Solo.
movies that you two went and saw
while you were at
recently?
work.
Yes, we
like
Chaz and I went out to catch Solo, a Star Wars story. Tyler has not made it out to the cinema, so
No one spoil it for
it's
him.
going to be a spoiler-free podcast.
Please
Nobody
do not
mention it.
call
Count
in.
Dooku.
keep
Please
these
don't
phones
call in
silent.
live and spoil it, then say Baba Booey. As I briefly alluded to just seconds ago, my other co-host, he's in a white tee. He's in some black jean shorts. He has some very exposed calves. It's Tyler.
I like the idea that my calves are more exposed than Chaz's.
Sure.
Mine are certainly more exposed because it appears that I have less leg hair.
Cool.
Oh, okay. Didn't think about it that way. You know, it's really great that you guys got to go see Solo together, and that was that great special time for you.
That must have
Well,
been
Tyler,
really
you can go
happy.
tomorrow and you can go solo.
Oh.
Okay, I take it all back.
You also could have come if you were unemployed like
I
us.
didn't have a job.
If only you were unemployed.
I kid. I'm
and
glad
of
you guys
course,
saw
I
it.
mean, you guys don't even know about all the
Oh, I had to dig that out. For
It's true.
sure.
For legal reasons, we have to edit that out.
For absolutely serious legal reasons.
It's true. Today, we're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about any films or legal
Platitudes.
disputes. Oh, yeah. We're not giving any platitudes because today we're talking about Raditude.
Raditude.
It is Weezer's, let's just take a stab at it, 9th album. Chaz, fact check.
I want to say it's their
8?
18th
No,
studio
7th.
album.
7th.
All right, let's count
I
them
think.
down. Number 7,
Backwards?
the Red album. Number 6, Make Believe. Number 5, Maladroit.
Maladroit.
Uh-oh. Number 4, the
Wait.
Green album.
Fuck.
Number 3,
No, I said this was their 7th.
Pinkerton. Number 2,
Is this-
the Blue album.
Is this not their 7th?
And number 1,
The
Pacific
Kitchen
Daydream.
Tapes.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sorry, I was counting The Lion and the Witch EP as well. No, this is their 7th, isn't it?
Cool poll. No, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We did just count them down. Their
In
7th
order.
album
Reverse order.
came out November 3rd,
third,
2009. The title, it's very bad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was suggested to the band by Rainn Wilson, a.k.a. Dwight Schrute. Thoughts? Just I'd like to hear your general thoughts on the album title and the cover mainly. There's a doggy. He's quite big. He's jumping.
Actually, fun fact about Rainn Wilson, he was the one who purchased the joke option they had on their site at around the time the White Album came out. It was like the super deluxe edition for $50,000, where you got to go on a trip to the Galapagos with Rivers Cuomo.
Wow.
But I don't think they actually went to the Galapagos.
I hope they refunded him.
No, they did a video for, I want to say college humor. I don't know. It wasn't that funny, though.
Sounds like college humor.
College drama, more like.
Oh.
Tyler, how do you feel about Raditude as a
It really
as an
portends.
experience?
It really gives you a glimpse into the amount of cringe that you're in for, I think.
Ooh,
it
interesting.
really is them bending over backwards and really embarrassing themselves, trying to fit in with what they perceive to be a younger crowd. A new wave of bright, flashy pop artists. I tracked down the origin of this album cover.
Yes, I too read the Wikipedia article.
Yeah, so it's from National Geographic, and this librarian had his dog Sydney, who is shown here leaping through his living room at the first whiff of food. He's always brimming with enthusiasm and a love for life, as well as treats. And that, I feel, sums up Weezer in a very nice way.
They love
and
treats.
The picture does not. Enthusiasm and a love for life, I feel, is not a bad description of Weezer at their
Does
best.
Weezer love life?
I think they do.
I think they respect life. So I also did some digging about the picture. So Rivers picked it because he thought that it was representative of how he felt on stage.
Oh dear.
And also, it turned out the photographer said that Sydney is a big Weezer fan.
Oh.
So take of that what you will.
Horse shit. The claim.
Would you say, Chaz, the majority of people consider this their worst album? The vast majority?
It certainly seems like it. I know there's a lot of people that are not fans of Hurley as well.
Yeah, we've got some interesting takes coming up on Hurley. We'll save that for the next or 2 episodes from now, depending on when we do Death to False Metal.
Oh.
You would say it's pretty consensus that it's their worst?
Yeah, it's definitely between, like, for a lot of people, it's definitely like bottom 2.
Bottom 2 with a bullet?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this on Red, how Red was sort of like they're very much like kind of sloping downwards. I mean, I think all of us were pretty decent fans of Make Believe.
Yeah.
Like they had a nice little run going.
But I think for
2-album run.
Red, the one thing you can say looking back is that this band is firmly in the middle of a midlife crisis.
That is a great
and
way
a
to
big
put it.
crisis of identity.
That
and
really shines through on this album as well. I
in a
think.
very much a warts and all manner.
We definitely see them leaning very much into the pop side of pop rock or power pop or however you want to describe it. Like, we're not very far removed from Rivers singing on B.O.B.
Yeah,
like going like
I've
full
got the
poppy.
Magic in me.
Well, we'll definitely review that track at some point.
Sure.
This is the first album, I'd say, where you can really hear them leaning into the conventions of the genre. Like,
Definitely.
it did feel like they were definitely influenced to a certain degree by like the changes in music. Obviously, like they have been around for over 10 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first album where it really feels like they are like
They're
trying
taking
to
on a style
emulate.
that is not their own.
Yeah, they're really trying to kind of fit in with the more like pop music. They've got a lot of people like co-writers on this album, like Jay Cash, I think, Jermaine Dupri, Dr. Luke, famous for producing a lot of Kesha's stuff.
Jackknife Lee makes a return from his odd limited stint producing the Red album.
And speaking of co-writers, the first thing that one of the big things that I was thinking about as I was listening to this album in preparation for the episode was like, this is roughly contemporaneous with like bands like All American Rejects, and it's doing like a worse version of that music. And then when I was doing my research on the album, I found out that the guys from All American Rejects were co-writers on one of the songs.
Which song?
Put Me Back Together.
Oh, really?
I know.
I
mean,
feels the most like Rivers back alone in his
I kind of felt that way too. It was
No,
weird.
Really?
I think so.
But we'll get to the tracks. Of
We'll
course.
save it for the pod.
Yeah, our classic refrain. It's very difficult because we love to talk about Weezer, but then when we're talking about the album, yeah, true. We like it a lot, as evidenced by us sitting in a very hot room right now. The problem with that is whenever we want to talk about the album that we've all been listening to prepare for the episode, we always have to say, save it for the pod. So, Chaz, did you mention that this is the first album to feature co-writers that were not Weezer members?
I don't think I said that.
Well, it is.
Actually, yeah. Huh. Yeah, now that I think about it, I guess I can't really think of any other ones, if there are none.
And then ironically, at the same time, this is where you have... So from Red, where they had like all the members of the band writing and singing on different tracks, and then it goes back to Rivers just singing on tracks, and we are also in the Pat Wilson lead guitar era of Weezer. This is where. So Chaz, can you give us a little insight into that? Because I mean, I didn't do a deep dive on it, but I wasn't able. It wasn't mentioned very much in the sort of. Story of this album.
Yeah, well, I think that was more so for live performances. I mean, I haven't really taken a deep dive into it either, but it seems like for live performances, they'd have Pat and Brian on guitars, Scott on bass, and then Rivers just singing and I guess sometimes playing keys, and then a session drummer,
Josh
Freeze, yep, on drums, who was also a very huge like session drummer back in the 90s for like a lot of bands back then. So a very talented guy, but kind of interesting choice.
It makes sense. Like all the logic behind it makes sense, but it's just so like disconcerting.
Yeah.
Well, like Weezer having more than 4 members just feels weird.
Like if the Beatles started, like Paul started doing drums, like okay, you could do that, but
which did kind of happen.
Yeah, like in the studio. Of course.
Yeah, in the studio.
Yeah.
They went on tour with Paul doing drums. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why would you change your mind? Like they've been going for a solid, like they're coming up past like 20 years now.
Yeah, it was about 15 years at that point.
Yeah, close to 15 years.
Why would you shake it up like that?
Yeah, and it's like, did they think that was just going to be like a permanent thing? It's very, very strange to me. We'll have to do some continued digging because did that continue through Hurley, or was that like?
It definitely continued through Hurley. I'm pretty sure.
They didn't really tour for this record that much. They had tours going on like in 2009. I know they didn't really like go on a Raditude, as they would have called it. I'm sure.
No, Weezer's not smart enough to think of that.
Oh come on. Come now.
Weezer is a weird band in that they are very famous and have a pretty high level of recognition. Like most people know about them, but they've got this long, weird history with this long middle part of making a bunch of really oddball decisions that really have not been scrutinized by a lot of people.
I saw a meme the other day. It was like a picture of Weezer, and it was like a decision-making flow chart, and it's like, hey guy, is this going to be a good decision? And then it's like, no. Make the decision, essentially.
That's funny.
Ooh, speaking of pictures.
What, are you going to talk about your new Facebook profile picture?
No, I was not going to do that.
Oh.
I was going to say, if you doubt our level of Weezer fandom, then you should scroll to, I think I'm going to find it now.
We didn't talk about this.
August. You should go to Rivers' Instagram profile and
Rivers
scroll
Cuomo.
to August 22nd, 2017, and take a look at the picture he posted then, because we've been referencing Chaz's extensive Weezer collection, and Rivers has posted a picture of Chaz's collection on his Instagram.
But not the whole collection.
Oh, just the Blue album.
Just the Blue album.
Yeah, and that was taken over a year ago. I've added quite a bit more to it now.
Yeah, Chaz, why don't you tell the story of how this came about? Because you didn't know that Rivers had done this.
No, I didn't. So I was I kind of wanted to look at take all my pieces out for each album, like set them up on the floor, and then kind of just see them all together, like from each era. So I did that, and I decided to take a picture and send it to Tyler and Chris maybe a few of my other friends. And I'm just like, fuck it. I've got Rivers on Snapchat. I doubt he'll open it or anything, but may as well send it to him. And then I get the notification that he's replayed it and screenshot it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I checked his Twitter or Instagram or whatever a bit for the next few days, and I didn't remember seeing it. I'm like, oh, maybe he just kept it for himself, or just like screenshotting all the pictures I send him. And but then
all the pictures you send him.
I've sent him 2 pictures and he screenshotted them both.
Nice.
Ooh. But so Tyler tells me fairly recently, actually, like,
yeah, this is a recent discovery.
Which means I was doing nothing but just scrolling aimlessly through Rivers.
I was like, how did you find this? Like, did you see this when it came out? Or like, were you looking for it? And you were just like,
nope.
No, I just scrolled all the way down, like almost a year back.
You never do that
Rivers'
with people's Instagrams? Just start scrolling?
I'm not an Instagram sort.
yeah,
All right. I've recently made the switch.
Oh,
good for you.
Anyway, that picture is of our
check out-
floor in this apartment, in this room that we're currently recording in. And that's our fun little connection to the actual band.
Check that pic out. We're kind of a big deal.
Honestly, I went through a lot of his other pictures, and the one I submitted or sent him had more likes than any of the other ones I clicked on. So
Holy
that's neato.
cow. Nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of recent revelations, I think this is the first episode that we are recording since the start of the podcast where there is new Weezer music.
Oh, I forgot about
Yeah.
that song.
Because I did too. I mean, like, we're recording this on
The 28th of May.
May 28th. Still no Black Album, by the way.
It's just a little late. It'll be here soon.
I have zero expectations for that, but we'll see. But on last Friday?
It was pretty recently.
Within
I want to say last Friday.
less than a week, certainly, they released their cover of Rosanna. And when I first received it, because Tyler, obviously, I received a link from him very early in the game, and I didn't understand why it had happened. And I kind of drew the rest of the story after the fact. Tyler, were you familiar with this story when you posted it?
No, I literally just opened up youtube.com. You
And
ever do that where you're like falling asleep or just waking up and your brain and mind automatically just go youtube.com?
Oh, I just leave YouTube open always and then hit refresh.
Refresh.
No, I don't do that. But anyway, that's how it was like.
But you-
14 minutes ago, Weezer posted a new song.
Wow.
And I like pooped my pants first, and then sent everyone the link, and then listened to it.
And then you
it took me a
changed.
second to realize that it was. I still have not changed. It took me a while to realize that it was not an original song, but then once I did, I realized. And then Chaz filled me on the whole story behind it.
Yeah, Chaz, why don't you break that down for us? Because I immediately recognized it as a cover, and I was like, okay, like, I don't really get the impetus for this at all, but it's fine. And then I sort of found out after the fact. So why don't you break that down for us?
What story did I fill in? Like,
Oh, well, just that. So there's this. I wouldn't call it viral, really. That might be an exaggeration, but there was a bit of a meme going around. I know there's a Twitter account about it where people were saying that Weezer should cover "Africa" by Toto, a classic meme song.
But still enjoyable.
oh,
When it
of
comes
course.
on,
Great song.
Yeah.
Definitely top 2 Toto songs, certainly.
I haven't soured on it in the way I've soured on a lot of songs that have become memes.
That's true. Like
Like
All Star.
what?
Used to love that song.
Yeah.
Now.
It used to be my favorite song.
Like, how can you sour on Shooting Stars?
Oh,
you
that's
can't.
that's genuinely a great song. But yeah, so basically, instead of, as a sort of wink to that, they released this cover of Rosanna by Toto.
Which is the first track off of Toto 4, I believe, and Africa is the last track, I want to say.
Yeah, their famous album. It was recorded in the hospital. Toto IV.
Well,
But anyways,
stay tuned next week for In the Garage with Chaz and Tyler.
but what do you say, guys? Why don't we break down the good old tracks just like we used to back in the old days?
Okay.
Can I just read this one little quote
Yeah,
from
please.
Wikipedia before we
Ooh.
start?
One of my favorite encyclopedias.
One of the best sources on Weezer, to be honest.
One of my freest encyclopedias.
Top 5 free encyclopedias for sure. This is a quote from Brian Bell, posted on Wikipedia. Probably sourced from Weezerpedia, but who knows. In a 2010...
sorry. There's a lot of shared verbiage between Wikipedia and Weezerpedia, I've noticed.
Oh, I don't doubt it, yeah. In a 2010 interview, so after the release of Raditude, Bell revealed, I like that word, that he had a conversation with Rivers about Raditude.
Yes.
And he said, to put my mind at ease, that this is just one album out of many more that we are going to make in our career. When I heard that, I was like, okay, cool. Well, that's a great way to think about it. We're just trying something, and this is just one record out of many more. That's a great quote to instill the confidence that you need to appreciate this album.
Truly. And I also wrote that down, and I want to bring it up later when we're talking about how this album sort of fits into their holistic career trajectory. But why don't we just dive right in? So, as usual, we've got our classic list of tracks.
Back into another 10-track Weezer album.
Yes, and another short Weezer album. 34 mins on the clock for this bad boy.
Crisp.
I thought you were saying my name.
Crisp.
So, just to quickly list the tracks, which I often forget to do. So, track 1 to track 10, not including bonus tracks or B-sides, as usual.
Of course not.
You've got open parentheses, if you're wondering if I want you to, close parentheses, I want you to. I'm your daddy, the girl got hot, can't stop partying, put me back together, tripping down the freeway, love is the answer, let it all hang out, in the mall, and I don't want to let you go.
In the mall.
In the mall.
In the window.
Oh, now that I don't like.
I feel like that wouldn't have even felt out of place on this album.
That's true. And speaking of rappers that reached their zenith in the mid to late 2000s, we've got our number 10 ranked track, Can't Stop Partying. Surprisingly not the unanimous bottom rank, but pretty close to it. I like to call it Can't Stop Fartying, which I think is pretty funny. But Tyler, what do you think about this song?
I think that's pretty funny.
Thank you. What about the song, though?
This is the song. When you listen through it, I can't even say sentences about this thing. When you go through it, tracks 1 through 10, and I hit Can't Stop Partying, in my head, all I can think is like, this is like episode 2 Attack of the Clones level, like this is making me go back to Blue and Pinkerton and like ruin and sapping the enjoyment of those albums
Like
away.
Like the classic Pitchfork make believe review.
Yes.
Where they said that it retroactively ruined Blue and Pinkerton.
Yeah, they really cried wolf on that because Make
'cause then
Believe in
Raditude
retrospect
came out.
like has some pretty good solid pop moments on it.
Oh, I love Make Believe.
Yeah, we came
all
down
love
pretty
Make Believe.
Softly on Make Believe. It's a good album.
Yeah, we gave our love to it softly. Weezer reference.
But no part of this song is good. I can't like it at all. It's so buried under like 2009 production. The lyrics are just not there at all. The singing isn't there at all. Lil Wayne has a genuinely god-awful verse.
Yeah, holy. I think this song is a bit of a tragedy for a couple reasons. One, because it's like a father singing this song. It's just kind of sad. Like
I hadn't thought about that.
On top of that, like
Father.
like if this was done by like a mainstream pop artist, I feel like it wouldn't be like nearly as shitty of a song. It would fully make sense, right?
Yeah. I would still probably shit on it.
Well,
it would not be a hit.
Oh, of course
It
not.
would be
but
like-
it would make sense.
I don't know if I can go that far. I think if I heard this song by I think if this was Flow Rida featuring T-Pain, I'd be like, this song sucks.
Oh,
It would have sucked,
yeah.
but like it sucks in their lane. And
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think
yeah.
Raditude has a specifically, like, for the first time, I would say, like, Weezer is genuinely trashy on this album. And this is a genuinely trashy song.
Yeah.
And it really does hurt. Like, he's been through so much. He's been to Harvard.
Yeah.
This is a Harvard
Think about a Harvard graduate
graduate.
and a father singing this song.
saying, I gotta have Patron, I gotta have the beat, I gotta have a lot of pretty girls around me.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, and I mean, like, we get it that this is trying to be ironic, but it doesn't really feel like ironic or like.
There's really not enough in there. Screw rehab, I love my addiction.
Yeah.
No sleep, I am always on a mission.
It's like the
That's
idea
not
like,
enough satire.
Well, the
or just
thing
like
about
I can't stop partying. Like,
Yeah, we get it. Like,
well, I just mean like it's not like he won't stop partying. It's like he can't. But
well, that's the thing.
there's not enough nuance to the song, and like it's like this isn't like Weird Al or something. Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to like be like a parody of something while also being an entry into the same thing.
I think one of the biggest issues I have with this song too is the one that's actually recorded and on the album. It really sounds like he's bragging about all this stuff and being like,
Yeah.
like a classic, like a rapper thing to do. Whereas if you listen to the acoustic demo off of Alone too, it's more like, it's a slower song. It's like acoustic. It sounds like more minor, more melancholy. And it
Yeah.
sounds like really like I wish like I could stop, or like
Yeah.
more of a sad song, like not complaining, but like down on himself
Yeah.
about it more,
Yeah.
rather than like showing off to everyone.
Yeah, like when the line is about like, oh, like I gotta have this, like I can't stop partying. Like there's like a thin line between sounding genuine and sounding like ironic, and also it's Weezer. Like
they are not in the VIP section of any
Yeah,
club.
no, imagine
too, but
imagine if he was singing Tired of Sex in like a braggy fashion.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like that would not have gone over well with
anyone.
that it's just there's
a lot to hate and not a lot to like.
yeah, this is the one. I mean, like, I don't think this is a good album by any stretch, but this is the one song that I consider to be like actively offensively terrible. Like, if I was making like a worst songs list, this would be on it. Whereas like like most of these songs are just like like whatever. Whereas this song, it's like it's tough to listen to.
Speaking of offensive, first use of the word fuck on a Weezer song.
Oh.
Not spoken by a member of Weezer. Speaking of Lil Wayne, this is like slightly post-peak Lil Wayne. And I truly believe that the only reason this song exists is for the line, it's Weezer and it's Wheezy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like,
Upside down
And
MTV.
yeah, like, it,
Walk me through that.
well,
the MTV logo is like
think
the
about
big
an M upside down.
Yeah.
It's a
What
W.
does
Okay,
it
that's a
make?
W. Now, TV.
T, so you've got the sort of, what's that? That's like a symbol. Like the
It kind of
the
looks
flat
like
the
line.
upside down.
L. It would almost look
Oh,
like
it's like
LA.
a double L.
Okay.
Oh, WLA. Interesting. Well, Lil Wayne famously from NOLA, LA.
Oh, I thought he was
Weezer,
from New
Los
York.
Angeles.
I don't know. Oh, wow.
This is really working for me. But I guess, wouldn't it...
AL.
Wait. But it would be
TV.
backwards.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It would-
TV.
Are you just
it would
flipping it
be
upside down?
Oh, yeah.
ALW.
It would be
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Oh!
Oh, I almost bought the soundtrack for his stage production of
Sunset Boulevard. I
Sunset.
was there.
Yeah, at a thrift store near us. But I actually didn't even really consider buying it that much. I just had it in my hand and thought, that was a good
You
movie.
thought it was the movie.
Yeah, if it was the movie, it might have been a different.
I know absolutely nothing about any of the plots of any of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals.
Well, I'll bet you know Jesus Christ Superstar.
I know the idea
parallels
of it.
the
I don't know
Bible.
anything about anything that actually happens in it.
Oh, I think you know what happens in it. Sorry.
Please don't shoot me down because I'm an endangered species.
And if you ask me, this album is feces. That's my alternate take.
Yeah,
Yeah, and-
like
Oh yeah, I wanted to mention there's also is it the coconut teaser mix that it's called? Did either of you guys listen to this?
No.
It's so the version on the album is like you can barely hear a guitar in the background, and then other than that, it's just like a late 2000s pop song. But there is this other version. I think it was released on the like Raditude Pass iTunes Club thing. That's like a more rocky version, like a little more minor, like more guitars and distortion and stuff. Would that have saved it at all from being like a truly terrible song, in contention for the worst Weezer song probably?
I want to say that the 2009 production, like those really reedy synths, then building up to like a drop that has not aged well.
Yeah, and like the what?
All that, yeah, every kind of 2009 cliche.
No.
It's like a 2009 ad-libs song, but that's really icing on the cake. And like the actual meat of the song is still genuinely awful. And like it's one of those songs we could read all of the lyrics and they would just be like the worst like 6-year-old trying to be cool, hat turned around backwards. Monday to Sunday, I hit all the clubs, and now everybody know when I pull up, I got the real big posse with me. Yeah, I'm in deep, and if you're looking for me, I'm in VIP.
I'm in the Veep. I'm watching Veep.
Ooh, that'd be way better.
Yeah, this is truly them. This whole album is them like at their most like regressed teenager, and like. On one hand, you could say, like, oh, that's part of the appeal of Weezer. Like, they're kind of, like, Arrested Development type guys. Like, they still, like, have the same, like, feelings of, like, being teenagers and stuff. But, like, this album in particular, it's less about, like, oh, I remember feeling that. Like, if you think, like, World Has Turned and Left Me Here as a good example of, like, it's not really about the things that he describes doing in the song. It's more about the feelings that he is expressing in the song.
Yeah.
Whereas on this album, and we'll get to a particular song that I feel extremely exemplifies this, but on this album, it's more about like, hey, remember when you were a kid and you did these things? Like it and like there's no emotional element to it. It's just like it's all just physical characteristics.
And I feel like this is a theme that you have leaned on heavily through these episodes, Chris, but you constantly make reference to you would rather see them fail in an interesting way than pass in a completely predictable way. And looking back at Red, like Everybody Get Dangerous is a cringy song. I still don't really like it.
Great song.
But it's so much more interesting, and it's so much more them trying out something new and describing some weird, immature part of their childhood.
Yeah.
And this is really just like paint by numbers 2009.
And to be fair, it is new for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is kind of the worst of both worlds. This is like
They are failing at
in
something that is not
predictable way.
interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking about like that sort of truism that I have for Weezer, and I was like, maybe I need to make an exception here because like it is like they're doing something different. Like I can see how at the time like it's an interesting direction for them. Like, and so that sort of leads me into one like big kind of overarching album thing I wanted to discuss. A lot of times talking about the critical reception, like the critical like reviews for this album, a lot of places, especially places that gave it positive reviews, were saying like, oh, it's just like old Weezer, and my like reaction is, what old Weezer does this sound like? I don't understand when people say like even excluding Can't Stop Partying, like when you look at the other songs in the album, what early Weezer does this sound like?
We'll get into that, I think.
Like I feel, yeah, we'll get. I'll leave that for now. I'll let you guys ruminate on it. But that is kind of like I do kind of question that because like they were never this just poppy. Like there was always like a melancholy or like a tint of darkness to it. I feel like, and that like this is just so straight ahead. But you're right, Chaz. We'll come back to that. Let's move on to the 9th ranked song on our list. The Girl Got Hot. Great title. I mean, I wrote this down that even just if you forget about the lyrics for a second, this has to be the worst collection of titles that Weezer has ever brought up,
including the album title.
Yeah, you got Raditude. You got
the cover.
The Girl Got Hot. You got Can't Stop Partying. You got I'm Your Daddy. We will get to that.
Oh, Love Is the Answer. Another terrible title.
But let's talk about the girl and how hot she is. Tyler, what do you think about this song?
I just said Can't Stop Partying was super trashy. And like this song, it really like it hurts my ears to think about how reading these lyrics, how just out and out trashy it is. Like the whole thing is so like 2009, like some. I've never seen an episode of Entourage, but that's always like the show I associate this like
with trashiness.
This like like those shots that like zoom in and then slow on like some like girl like depositing vodka shots on a table or something like that.
Or like in Fast and Furious when they're in Brazil, and it's just like
I haven't seen that either.
Close-ups of butts.
Yeah, yeah, and this whole thing like. The premise, the execution, the chorus, the verses, like everything about it is just like no.
I think you're a lot harder on this song than I am. Whereas, like, I ranked it as number 8 on my list, and that was mostly just because I thought the other songs were better than it, rather than it being worse. I mean, there's some like that intro part, like the whoa.
Yeah, musically speaking, I think this is a pretty good song.
I do too. I hate that intro part. There's like a video of just like that bit playing over and over again. It's almost like a GIF, but in video form. And it's, I guess, the producer or whatever, some older guy just sitting there and it's like, they're listening to it and it's like, wow. And it just, that intro part really bothers me. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's too easy, too cliche.
Too whoa-oh.
Yeah, too whoa-oh.
I mean, like, even, like, think of, like, Dope Nose. Like, they did the whoa-ohs in Dope Nose, but it's an interesting tune, at least.
I almost feel like for this one, they were trying to get sort of another thing like that. Like, like even, like, a song like Song 2 had, like, that. Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
But they kind of do this in a weird way, and I think it sounds really like obnoxious and just
trashy.
Yeah, that's a really good word for it.
Her name is Kiki D.
Oh, Kiki.
I don't. What do you think he meant by that?
I think that could have been actually the person's name.
No, honestly. Kiki D was the person who did "Don't Go Breaking My Heart" with Elton John.
Oh.
Yeah, she's like
really.
I almost thought of it like. And there was Kiki D as in like, oh, that's what we called her when we were younger back in the 70s or something. Like,
yeah, I could see that.
What does Kiki D look like? Is she hot?
I don't think she was hot.
I think it's time for us.
She wasn't ugly. She wasn't
to the
hot,
Google.
though. She looked like kind of
just a regular lady,
basic person.
Show me pictures of Kiki D.
Have a look at these pictures.
Just a normal person, I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like truly just an average
regular
human being. Shout out to you, Kiki D. That's a great song.
It is.
Not Girl Got Hot, to be clear.
Don't Go Breaking My Heart.
Yeah. But I mean, I agree with what you said, Joel, about how I have 2 very clear bottom 2 tracks on this album. This is not one of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like everything above that almost universally, like pretty much 8 to 2, I feel like could be interchangeable, depending.
Yeah.
Like if you got me on a
really?
good day.
I've got some very clear ones near the top, but I think a lot of my middle portion is fairly interchangeable. I think this song does have some like redeemable quality.
Oh yeah, like
I think like it's nice that even though the lyrics are kind of trashy, they flow, they don't feel forced, and it is kind of like a concise story that makes sense. He's not just saying a bunch of random shit that has nothing to do with the previous line. Like I felt
I
that
guess that is
I felt that way.
positive in the,
I
It's like
felt
you
in the
really have to
Weezer
count your
oof.
blessings.
I really felt that way a lot of the time on Red, but
This
I
is
don't
a story with a
yeah.
start, a middle, and an ending.
Yep. But I think like musically there's some good themes, like the "Oh my goodness me, the girl got hot" part. I think there's a really cool little guitar lick under that I enjoy quite a bit. And then yeah, towards the last bit there's like a part that's like na 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 na, na or however the hell they do it, where like right before the final pre-chorus and chorus. I think that's kind of interesting musically, but I think a lot of this song is just kind of nothing special.
Yeah. If the lyrics weren't, or if the it's not even the lyrics themselves, it's more just the like title line and the general
Yeah.
like what the song is about that is bad compared to the like I mean the lyrics are about what you'd expect for a song with this title
Call
and
the
this
girl got
story. Yeah, exactly.
She got hot.
Yeah, it's about
they
a
did
girl
not.
and then that got hot. And that's really all there is to it. But yeah, I feel like if the lyrics were just about like nothing really like notable, then it would just be in the middle of the road song. But
Well, what's weird for me is that he specifies that he knew her in junior high school. It's like they are now late
Almost 40,
30s,
yeah.
well into their 40s.
yeah, but yeah, you could really say that about any
Any of these
song on this
songs,
album.
yeah.
You could also argue
And
that
any
he's
song in
like
their discography,
writing
really.
writing this song from like the point of view of his younger self. Like this could have been a
yeah.
story that happened around like Blue Album or something.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it's his 20-year high school reunion he's going back to.
being like, oh,
Yeah. Wow, she got hot. Like in her late 30s.
I don't know. But just the, like, oh, she got hot. What do you mean by that, Rivers? Oh, satin tights, boots so white. She got a leopard handbag.
Yeah, it really doesn't say anything about her appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, she got...
Well, maybe that's a good thing. It's like, oh, like,
He's not focused on her appearance.
she was always beautiful. She just had to find a
just
way
had
to
to-
express herself.
She had to buy the right accoutrement.
Just needed satin tights.
She would look the exact same, but she bought a leopard handbag.
Yo, for Halloween, we should be the girl. Like, we all have satin tights, leopard handbags.
Feather in feathered hair.
Ah, that's a good line, actually. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Dash of rouge. Buyer
Buyer beware.
Buyer beware.
You're in
like
for a
that.
scare.
Yeah.
That's the tagline of
This song
Goosebumps.
had a Vincent Price breakdown.
And then I saw her. The girl got hot. Pretty good.
Did he die before this song came out?
I hope so.
For his sake. Okay, Google. When did Vincent Price die?
Vincent Price died on October 25th, 1993.
He didn't even get to see the Blue album.
Oh, that's too bad.
that
for
is a
Vincent
shame.
Price.
R.I.P. Vincent. Well, guys, what do you say we move on to the
Let's
next one?
move on.
Yeah, I'm
I've-
good for that.
I'm already sensing that as we continue to sit in this room,
We're all getting hot.
our brain. We are all the girl
The
today.
podcasters got hot.
As our brains slowly boil, that this podcast will go increasingly off the rails.
I think the shirt's gonna come off at some point.
Oh, yeah,
To break out some cold ones.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not a bad idea. I feel like the long lead time to this record is that none of us were super anticipating listening to Raditude. Although, no, I was excited from a podcast perspective, less from a music perspective.
Honestly, I listen to Raditude like more often than a Weezer fan should. I think once in a while I'll be like, I'm feeling some Weezer, but not stuff that has been way overplayed.
But not stuff I've heard a lot.
Yeah.
I've been through all the
Raditude.
good Weezer songs.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at that point now where whatever album I go to, it's like, oh yeah, I know all of these songs inside and out. So
Yeah, I can't say the same, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
every other album, I've come out with a new appreciation for it. And, like, I couldn't even take notes on a bunch of these songs. So, like, there's nothing to say about them.
Yeah, that was
See,
definitely
I-
me for like
I felt myself come
Maladroit
around on
and
this
Red
one a
for
lot.
sure.
I think maybe that's just because I've like heard it a lot more times than
Maybe.
you have, and like over a longer span of time. But I was
Yeah.
definitely on your side when I first heard it.
Yeah, I went from like considering it to be like not really good for anything other than a punchline to like being like, okay, like this isn't unlistenable.
Yeah.
But why don't we move on to a very interesting song, in my opinion. This is the number 8 song on our list. Love is the Answer.
Ugh.
Love is the Answer. This song has a very interesting history.
Tell me about this song's history.
So I'm going to have to double check my facts here. This was written and recorded by Rivers during Make Believe period.
Oh, so a while back.
But did not make it onto any album. And then this is a great little bit. So Rivers gave the song to, any guesses?
Ravi Shankar.
Nope. Good guess, Tyler.
He
any
gave it
guesses?
to the estate of Vincent Price.
That's incorrect, sadly. He of course gave it to Sugar Ray,
Oh. Who promptly disposed of it.
who promptly recorded it and put it on their album. The album was of course titled Music for Cougars. And so, yeah, at this point, this was just a regular rock song. It didn't have any of the what I want to get into, which is this sort of Hindu or like Indian inspired elements of the song.
Really?
That was all added onto the Raditude arrangement. So it's Amrita Sen is the name of the female singer, a classical Indian Hindi singer. And then some guy played sitar. River says one of our friends was playing sitar. Yeah, definitely like a very, very Indian inspired sound. What do you guys think of this, Chaz? I feel like you have a strong opinion on this.
This is my least favorite Weezer song.
Of all the songs,
Of all the songs.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of one that even comes close. I found redeemable qualities in just about every other one of their songs, but this one, I just can't seem to find anything in it. I think the lyrics are incredibly basic. Like, Rivers talking about, like, only in dreams and saying, like, gay, Disney, gay, and then, like, writing this. It's like, oh, love is the answer. It
You have
sounds
to
like
trust in the world.
it sounds like a shittier version of All You Need Is Love, which is potentially
or the word.
potentially my least favorite Beatles song. Obviously not my least favorite, but my least favorite of their fairly highly rated ones.
Of their successful songs.
Yeah. I don't know. The lyrics just feel like some like. Now I realize I'm saying this wearing a dashiki, but like they just feel like some feel good like hippie stuff. Like, I don't know. I think one of my favorite jokes to make about this is love is the answer if the question is what is the worst Weezer song.
Pretty good.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm glad you referenced the Beatles, because that, I feel like that is a very quick jump to make, because like the lyrics just being about like love, like there's the word, which is a very similar song. It even says you've got to trust in the word, i.e. love. And then there's also the Indian influence and sitar, which obviously the Beatles are very famous for bringing into rock music.
Kind of feels like Rivers has like a career checklist. One of those just like, oh, do an Indian song.
Make some Japanese albums.
Yeah.
I guess he's done that.
Can't wait to review those.
Oh yeah,
also,
we
like-
should do some Scott and Rivers at some point.
Oh, we will.
Also,
I
how
cannot wait.
it's
There's
just
some
an
good
odd
stuff.
feeling for me. Kind of like thinking about people like Kanye. It's like their archives of unreleased songs must be so big. And with Rivers, it's like, oh, when you need to make, like looks at his wrist, like time to make a new Weezer album. Does he just go digging for songs that have been kicking around the vault?
I think he does, kind of. There's this very famous list. Like, it's like a spreadsheet. Let me see if I can dig this up. But yeah, basically he has this like a spreadsheet of all his demos, and he has like this thing called the 4 and 5 star demos of Rivers Cuomo. That was just like a list of all the demos he thinks are good, and he does like go back to those pretty regularly, I think. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think I hope he uses more of those demos soon, because a lot of people, and myself included, are kind of thinking that one of the reasons he's not putting out more Alone albums is because he wants to use those demos for like actual songs on future albums. And I would love to see them, like, if they're actual good demos, like turned into like albums or like songs actually fully like produced and done with the whole band.
Yeah,
But
like a good song is a good song. But
yeah,
this
even
is
even
not a
after
good
that,
song.
like I'd like to see the demo on an Alone album. And I know ages ago he said like he'd plan on doing 6 or so, but it's been a while since Alone 3.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing. I'm just looking at there's a list of songs here, and for 2 of the songs from 2006, Unspoken and Memories, would later end up on Hurley. So I think he does like.
So songs have like a long lead time and can be stewing for like
I
like
think
5 or 6
when it's time to make a
years.
new album, he'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, like, are any of these worth including? Like, should I think about these? So, yes, I think he just writes a lot of songs.
Oh,
and then,
I would
like,
love to hear the demo for
Unspoken.
yeah.
Save it for the pod. Next episode.
The next spot. Chaz, I really have to. Obviously, subjective opinions are subjective
of course.
opinions, but I really gotta say, I can't place this as the worst Weezer song because it is such an obvious diversion from their style.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of unfair to lampoon that as like the worst song because it is a bad song.
I
but,
definitely agree with you to some extent on that.
like it's Weezer, for
And
better or
it's
worse, doing something else. And I think there are other songs that are like straight up like down the middle of the road Weezer songs that fail miserably at being Weezer songs.
Totally agree, Tyler.
I will. Yeah, I guess I got to give him some credit for trying something completely new and different, but I really do not think it works. It's
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't revisit this song, but I think it's interesting. Like I think it's cool that they did that. Like it is very out of place for Weezer because like I do feel like Weezer has never had aspirations of being like important art.
Or even of being a band like Vampire Weekend that is like rooted in world styles. Or
Oh
anything.
yeah, oh for sure.
They are not interested.
They're a
in that
very
at all.
American band. And so yeah, it is weird. It's weird that this song exists, but I don't think it's bad that this song exists necessarily.
Yeah, lyrically, it's kind of on par with like it's reminding me of Angel and the One. That just kind of ends with like peace, shalom, like chill out, everyone, like just kind of meaninglessness. And the lyrics to "Love Is the Answer" are kind of the focal point of this one Raditude review that I like a lot. That has given me a lot to think about on the website popmatters.com by Evan Sadi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Saudi for mispronouncing your name.
Saudi. In this one paragraph, he goes, with that in mind, looking at these lyrics of Love Is the Answer, just basically saying, love is the answer. He goes, why is Raditude one of the worst albums to be released in 2009? The reason is simple. Raditude is an album that forgets one of the principal rules of songwriting. Specificity leads to universality. And he talks about this Chuck Klosterman book that talks about another song referencing a girl falling in love with a boy outside of a Tasty Freeze, which is a specific store that had this prominent place in the South and Midwest of America. That being about a specific thing in a specific place made it relatable to so many more people. I think that's a big thing about the Blue Album and Pinkerton is that he was so specific. Like, I asked you out to a Green Day concert and you said you never heard of them. Like, that leads to a universal feeling of empathy. Like, oh, like, kind of two ends of this. Like, what's going on with this girl? Like, she's never heard of Green Day.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that at all, but that is definitely something that you can detect. I mean, again, we'll get to this song that I think is particularly bad, but like, I'll keep dancing around it for now. But
like when you get specific about yourself and the things you're going through, you end up relating to way more people than you maybe think you would have at the start. But when you go the other way and being super broad, super universal, which he is explicitly trying to do on this, you end up with such a broad, watered down message that it doesn't relate to anyone.
Yeah,
like,
totally. Like,
plus, like, at least when the Beatles kind of did it, they did it first, right? Like, it was in some ways like a new concept.
and it was also very much in vogue at the time, like these sort of feelings of like universality.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it was like culturally
you know, like
relevant as
hippies,
well.
all that
Yeah.
bullshit. Why don't we move on to our number 7 song, which is of course In the Mall.
Okay.
I'll take this one
All
to
right.
start because I think this song sucks. Like I said that Can't Stop Partying is the only song that I found to be like actively offensively bad, but this is a very close second. It's just it sounds bad. It revolves around this one riff and sung melody that is like offensive to the ears.
Annoyingly repetitive and simple.
It's about being in a mall, which sucks. Like,
And that's it. Like, we're not
oh yeah, it's not
being reductive.
It's
like,
not about anything other than being in the mall.
oh,
which
being
is,
in the garage is just about being in the... Like, this song is about being in a mall.
yeah, and like I mean, I was just talking about this before. This spoiler alert. This was the song I was referencing. Where like, yeah, if you compare it to In the Garage, which obviously, I mean, like they were asking for it. The chorus of In the Garage is the first 5 words are in the garage I feel, whereas I never hear anything about how you feel when you're in the mall. I just hear about being in the mall and not even really the things you do.
No, they're just in the mall.
They're
Take the escalator to the elevator.
yeah, like they're nothing more than being in the mall. And so as we were just talking with Love is the Answer about the whole specificity thing, if you're talking about a memory you have of being in the mall as a kid, like a mall
Get
is a very
specific,
particular
yeah.
place. Yeah, I'm sure we all grew up in the same area. There is one major mall in the area. I'm sure we can all think of all the stores in that mall and like all the things you would do in that mall. And yet it doesn't even say the name of one store. Like it literally doesn't say the name of any stores that like you could say like, I don't know, like Walmart or like I guess Starbucks wasn't really a thing when you was
No,
a
but you
kid.
could give us something.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
you could have a very broad like, oh, like I went to the movie theater in the mall. Like
I kind of got like the impression this song's about being like a trashy like teenager, like a high school
Yeah.
student smoking weed and hanging out in the mall. Like,
and I did hate those people
yeah.
always.
I
Like
mean,
even when I was the same age as
even-
kids walking, like who like their day was like, I'm going to the mall and like we're just walking around and like disturbing shit. Like even when I was the same age as those kids, I hated those kids.
yeah.
Yeah. And just these lyrics are just not good.
Oh. Yeah.
In the mall, in the fall, we're sneaking to the emergency hall. First we smoke, then have a smoke.
What does that mean?
You mean you're smoking twice? That is probably the worst way to say
Smoking weed and a cigarette? Is that what it is?
That's
that,
what
or
I
you're just
kind of
chain
assumed.
smoking.
Maybe either chain smoking. I always kind of thought he meant like
First
we
we
smoke
smoke,
weed and then
And then we have a smoke.
and then we
which is like
smoke
a
some
cigarette.
darts. Yeah.
Get
But even if they're smoking weed, the next line is the most childish thing ever. Get change for tokens and a pretzel and Coke. And help me out here, guys.
doesn't even reference the arcade.
No.
He doesn't reference anything. Like he's just like, we're in the mall. They decorated. We're in the mall. I'm walking around. Like,
Oh yeah, like the whole thing about them decorating for Christmas. Like what the
like, what are you talking about? And why are you talking about?
rivers? No.
Rivers Nomo.
Holidays are on their way. These decorations have so much to say. Loses meaning going west. Don't get facetious or you don't get the best. Like,
What are you
what?
talking about?
Yeah,
I'm not-
this is what I kind of was talking about when we were talking about the girl got hot, and I said, "Oh, at least the lyrics make sense. Like, it's not like the next line is
Yeah, like
completely."
it follows a logical path.
Whereas this, it's like, what are you doing there, bud?
The heck? Yeah,
yeah.
I was very Tyler. I want to hear your thoughts on this because you had this as your number 5 song, which shocked me.
Really, just because it is so unbelievably bland, and it really became somehow just like my taste test for the other songs.
Oh yeah, I know what you. I know
Because
what
like
you,
it is
when
just
you're
the
ranking
chorus
songs.
is in the mall. I was in the mall. I was in the mall. I was in the mall. And it's like, okay, like you guys are really just not trying at all. Compared to that, I feel like whenever we bring up against a song that is bland versus one that is like offensively like whoa, like I will tend to side with the kind of blander song just because I'm not offended by it. Where you guys will kind of get more out of a more just unique experience. But like The Girl Got Hot like puts a bad taste in my mouth, and In the Mall is just like okay, like that's just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I have here in my notes written, this song is theoretically shit, but I like it quite a bit. I think it's an interesting song. It reminds me of a lot of like the kind of harder songs off Maladroit. I think it's interesting too that this was co-written by Patrick Wilson as well.
Yeah.
And I think this song really sounds like a song by a 90s band that isn't Weezer. Like
heavier.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be in some sort of like almost, a movie. It sounds like it should
be like a Limp Bizkit, not quite that heavy, but like
I was saying like if it was in like some movie like Clerks or like maybe not Clerks, but like a movie like
I know
Clerks.
what you mean.
I'm remembering a movie that I saw once as a kid where a bunch of kids got stuck in an airport.
Don't tell me.
I can't remember. What?
Unaccompanied Minors.
Yes, that is it. And like,
fun fact, that movie is based off of This American Life segment.
Cool.
I know a lot about unaccompanied minors. Don't know anyone who was in it, but I know what it's about, and I know what it was inspired by.
Oh, I could have made a horrible joke there, but
it was of course directed by Paul Feig.
Who's he again?
What else did he do? I recognize that name.
Bridesmaids, The Heat, Spy, Ghostbusters, Lady Ghostbusters.
Oh, Lady Ghostbusters?
Lady Ghostbusters. Why wasn't that the name of the movie?
It should have been.
Can I get 2 tickets for Lady Ghostbusters, please? Ooh, Lady Ghostbuster Bird.
What? Oh, I see. I just thought of Larry Bird. Anyways, oh boy, it is warm.
It's so hot in here.
I'm doing fine. I'm like drenched in sweat, but I don't feel uncomfortably warm.
This is the hot episode. It's my favorite Pink Floyd song, by the way. Uncomfortably warm. Do we have anything else to say about this song? I hate it. It might be the number 10 song for me, honestly. Really? I would sooner listen to Can't Stop Partying, if only for like comedic value.
See, I have this ranked at number 7, but I kind of like it. I put it over like The Girl Got Hot just because I don't know why. I think this song is interesting. For me, this is kind of one of those like fail in an interesting way songs.
That's fair.
This song is a fail in an interesting way song for you?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of like it.
Not in the lyrics, certainly. But yeah, I can see what you're saying, how musically it is a bit of a... It's not quite middle-of-the-road Weezer, especially on this album.
Yeah.
For me, this is pure bland Weezer. Like,
really?
It's just like, whoosh, right through me.
I think maybe it's more so interesting in like the context of this album, since really like there's no other song that sounds like this hard, kind of, or this. Like, I don't know. Man,
Unaccompanied Minors grossed $22 million worldwide against a $26 million budget.
It's pretty good.
Flop. It's not good. It's very bad.
$4 million.
Lost money. Very unfortunate. Mm-hmm. No memorable names in the cast, unfortunately. Let's move on.
Yep.
The next song we have on our list, we are approaching the halfway point here. We're getting to the sort of homogeneous mass in the middle of this album, in my opinion at least.
Yep.
We've got number 6 is I'm Your Daddy.
Okay.
Another great title. I had this song significantly lower than you guys. I actually had this underneath Girl Got Hot.
Oh.
I guess overall, just the title, I don't like it.
No, it's not good.
I mean, like, he wrote this song
for his daughter.
Yeah, for his daughter.
But like that,
like, you should be aware of the ways other people will take it.
He didn't really write it for his daughter, because if you look at the lyrics, it is clearly not about...
You got the brains, the body, and the beauty.
Yeah, it is clearly about a romantic interest, not about your daughter.
Yeah.
Like, he thought of the line, like, you're my baby tonight and I'm your daddy, but he did not use it in a fatherly
an
context,
appropriate
which would have been
context.
very interesting in my opinion, since that definitely is not something that they tread lyrically very often.
Yeah, more. There should be more innocent uses of the word "daddy" in lyrics.
No, I think I'm okay.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, for some reason, like this, like, I
For
mean,
some reason, "daddy" has fallen off the common usage.
yeah, I mean, like, this is on par, I'd say, with "Girl Got Hot" in terms of like trashiness, but I
Yeah,
think "Girl Got Hot" is more like fun and memorable as like a stupid pop song, like kind of like poppy rocky whoa whoa.
See, I kind of disagree. I think it's pretty trashy too, but I enjoy this song a lot more, like especially musically. I do see why it's disliked, because it does have a really like electronic sound, and it does sound kind of a lot like a mainstream pop song, but I like the chorus a lot more, like just like as a catchy chorus, right? But that bridge at the end though is like, what? Like, I will ape a Goomba if you tire. Like, is that a Mario reference?
It must be.
I think
Yeah,
so.
like, wait, I will ape a Goomba?
I will ape the Goomba.
Like,
So he's going to imitate the Goomba, or is it a Donkey Kong reference?
I always thought like, oh, like I'll go ape that guy, like fuck him up or something like that.
If you tire?
Like,
But-
yeah, I don't know. And then like,
but they were barrels
yeah, he didn't throw Goombas, certainly.
yeah,
or tires.
That would have been a clever...
yeah.
I would have been way too clever.
This would have been bumped up to number one.
If only Donkey Kong had thrown tires, that would have been a funny reference.
Yeah.
If only reality was different, and if
only
only,
things were
only
different
the
than they
world
are.
changed to make it a reference, then that would have been a good reference.
Yeah.
Shout out to Palermo's.
Yeah, no.
That split a cheese fondue.
Dude, that second verse, that's so
specific.
It's
Credit
so,
to them for being specific there.
No,
Yeah,
that's just
woo.
like, that's like so like white knight nice guy lyrics in the second verse. It's just like, I will
Well, this is Rivers. Like,
yeah, that's true. I just ran this one time. I was at camp, and like my cousin and I, we were like talking to one of our female friends, and we were like kind of joking around, being a bit mean to her. And then some guy comes up who doesn't know any of us. He's like, "Hey man, like that's not cool. You can't talk to her like that." And we're like, we're joking around. It's like, yeah, I know how to treat a woman, at least. Like, I know how to take a girl out to dinner and a movie. And every time I hear like shit like this, I'm like, oh no.
Clearly replayed that exact situation in your head.
Yeah, which is,
Oh,
oh man, I got a lot of good laughs out of that that scenario though.
You know what I have to say about this song? And it's not really a fair criticism to say about this song on this episode, but this song, and if you're wondering if that I want
it's
you
of
to,
course,
then
of
that
course,
other,
the title of the song is open parenthesis. If you happen to be wondering about the thing that I wanted
If
from
now
you,
was the
close
time
parentheses,
that you were thinking
that
about
would be good.
when I wanted to.
If you're
then
wanting-
yes.
I zoned up for like 2 seconds. What the fuck are we talking about?
Nothing. Go on, Tyler.
This song and the first song on the album make me think of Smart Girls off of Hurley, and I like Smart Girls as a song so much more than any of these songs, and I'm so ready to talk about Smart Girls.
That's
And
funny
it's so
'cause
much
I
more
hate
likable.
for the
It
other
starts with that
pod.
drum machine, like
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
musically, I very much.
the
yeah.
chorus like drops in with this big thud.
Guys,
Save it
Hurley,
for the pod.
Save it for the pod.
Well, that's the next
But-
one. The one we've all been most excited for, I think.
Ooh, Hurley is gonna be.
I've been excited for all of them.
It's gonna come out
I
late
actually-
September, but it's gonna be a great
This is
pod.
an early Hurley teaser.
Yeah, like you can hear. How do I say it? Like we're about to make the turn into Weezer's making good music again, and once we get to that part, I feel like we'll look back on this part and be like, oh, they took those like Weezer took a few good cues about how to be like a bit more modern, a bit more trendy.
They learned.
Yeah.
They definitely learned something.
They
in making
learned a
this
bunch of
album.
key lessons, but they had to make some huge mistakes to learn those lessons, and this is like one of those mistakes, I think.
And yeah, we'll
'Cause
talk
this-
about that at the end because I I want to bring that back around for sure. Do we have any more thoughts about this,
Uh,
Chazzy?
I think just one little bit. They pull out the classic changing up the last chorus when they had those nice vocal harmonies at the last
That's
chorus.
true.
And every time I hear that, I always go, "Oh, really like the way that sounds."
Oh.
So thanks for doing that, Rivers. You should do it more.
We love our Weezer last choruses.
We do.
Okay, we are now in the upper half of the album, such as it is.
I didn't put in the classic comment about in the mall being greater than in the garage
Yeah,
from the YouTube video.
yeah. Go to YouTube, give that comment an upvote, subscribe to that guy's channel. Do him some good.
A spouse's views.
That's actually the channel I'm starting with my wife. A spouse's views.
Moving on.
Moving on, we have one of our most classic segments, the tiebreaker shootout.
Oh, that's gonna be good. I can feel it already.
Breaker.
It is between two songs.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is called Let It All Hang Out,
Ooh.
and one of them is called Tripping Down the Freeway.
Oh.
Ooh.
Both great songs.
Both.
Yeah, this is really, I feel like, yeah, to me, once you get Can't Stop Partying, I see Girl Got Hot and I'm Your Daddy as very much like of a piece with each other.
I do
Yes.
too, actually.
Probably because they're right next to each other on the album and they're both gross. And then Can't Stop Partying, Love Is the Answer, In the Mall. Once you get all those out of the way, you can really start having some fun with this album.
I think you can too. I definitely agree with you saying like Girl Got Hot and I'm Your Daddy. I always kind of bundle them together, and I always kind of bundle these two songs together. Let It All Hang Out and Tripping Down the Freeway.
They've got a real bro feel to them.
kind of bro, and just a really catchy chorus. I think that almost it feels powerful when it comes in like full.
Yeah, which song do we want to talk about first? Let's start with Let It All Hang Out.
Yeah, I'm game for that.
But yeah, the definitely very similar songs, like both just like pop rocky. Like I said, like All American Rejects. I think that's the best comparison for like late 2000s upbeat, like like a little bit like slick, overproduced almost kind of sound.
I would say very overproduced.
Okay. That was the sound of the time, and that is very much the sound of this album, and these two songs are very similar in that regard. Let's talk about the lyrics of this song, because I feel like...
I think they're really what I've come to expect from this era Weezer.
Yeah.
They're classic shitty Weezer, right? Like
yeah.
Well, I don't know. Like, Weezer kind of tends to flip-flop between these two oddball, like, ends of a spectrum. Like, on Red,
The
I'm
autism
thinking
spectrum?
of...
yeah, I could see that. Well, I mean, they're mostly on one end of it.
The upper
They're on
end.
one end of the autism
They're
spectrum.
right at the top. Oh, boy. Go on, sorry.
They have these songs, like, Can't Stop Partying, where they kind of thump in their chest, like, we're at the top of our game. And then other songs were like, I'm just like you blue-collar folk. Like, I have bills. I have worries. And it's like, I don't know. Neither really land for me, in part because they have that other kind of song waiting in the wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
just like yeah, the thought of like Rivers, like, oh, he was driving to work in traffic and
Worrying
his
about his
boss
bills,
yelled it.
yeah.
It's like,
Literally never happened.
yeah,
It feels
like
condescending.
He's
like,
never
"Oh,
like
Yeah.
I don't know fully his sort of biography, but I don't think Rivers ever worked
Yeah.
a 9-to-5 job, really, did he?
No, he worked at that one record store when he moved to LA. But
That's not a job. I'd volunteer at a record store.
That's a classic burnout job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and any job that would also support like a heavy like drug based lifestyle, I feel like is like not quite a real job.
yeah. So he has, besides that, and
Yeah.
like it seemed like that was kind of holding down the fort as he was putting together Weezer, and he never really was like in the workforce.
Yeah, he never had a career
Yeah.
by any stretch. Like,
Well, musical
other than
career.
other than frontman of Weezer.
So it feels odd when he is worrying about his bills and talking about needing a release from it. Like, it feels, he doesn't come across, but reading the lyrics on a page, it feels very condescending.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Or
there's a
almost
lot
like he's like putting on a character. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like that he's like imagining what this kind of person is like. I don't know. Yeah, this song has some underrated whack lyrics.
yeah, I mean, like
He feels like Jay-Z.
Yeah. On top of that, it's a recession. I feel like Jay-Z, this can't be life. Kanye definitely did it better as far as this can't be life references go. Do you know that one? It's on a family business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it's got a really catchy chorus. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with the verses. The lyrics are kind of that, like, kind of terrible era Weezer. Even though, like, I don't find the lyrics, like offensive or anything like that. I think they're pretty bland, but they're just kind of, I call them, like, terrible just because they don't really mean, like, anything.
Yeah, they're
right?
pretty empty.
Yeah, like Pinkerton and Blue would not have done as well if that like lyrics as empty as those.
You know what's weird for me is that he actually mentions that it's a recession. Like 2009, there was a recession.
Yeah.
Like Weezer doesn't usually reference like current
Yeah,
events like
so
that.
topical.
Yeah.
So topical.
Yeah, I think there's that bridge near the end that's like everything that I should hate. And like the kid's voice is in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's just like in theory I should really hate that, but I kind of like the way it sounds in this. I think it's interesting. It says like me and JD chilling in the shack. Is that a reference to Jermaine Dupri who co-wrote this song?
Can't Stop Partying. That's what he co-wrote.
Oh shit, was it?
Yeah.
Is it a shout out to Jermaine Dupri?
Or maybe it was both. Let me have a look here.
Who is JD?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It was co-written by. So Jermaine Dupri is a rapper
Yeah.
/ like songwriter.
Yeah.
I'll pull up some of his credits. You keep talking, Chaz.
Yeah, and is the shack the same shack from Back to the Shack? Because I've always wondered what he meant by Back to the Shack.
But why would he want to go back to Raditude when he's sort of
2
like
albums
shitting on
after it.
Raditude?
He thought that Hurley was the album that made everyone hate Weezer.
Yeah, we were so good through Raditude right up until Hurley.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How's the Kanye West?
Oh, I found that ages ago.
You didn't even have to use OK Google.
It's true. Yeah, so Jermaine Dupri, he produced Jump by Criss Cross. The
Ooh.
data make you
By Van Halen.
jump. You know
That's
the one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Got the single of that.
cool. He produced a bunch of Usher songs, Bow Wow, Snoop Dogg, more Usher, like a lot of like R&B. Mariah Carey is a big one for him.
A lot of turn of the decade.
Yeah, like R&B,
Big hits,
pop
yeah.
kind of stuff. Like, but he was definitely like a big deal for a while there. Less so now, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
I feel like co-writing with Rivers Cuomo is kind of like the last thing you want to be doing as like an R&B producer.
that must have been such a weird experience for both of them.
It's weird how much like hip hop cred Rivers has.
Yeah,
Like kind of like James Blake to a certain extent. And then, like you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
it makes a bit more sense that he would because there's
Or,
like
like,
a lot
Justin
of electronic
Vernon.
stuff, but Rivers has a lot more involvement in the hip hop world than you would think.
yeah.
But not with like the super relevant,
No,
like, highly
no.
touted like.
I mean, there's that Vic Mensa song featuring Weezer that sampled
Exactly,
The Good Life.
and that's probably
which-
his highest profile.
yeah.
That or B.O.B.
Yeah, who was the one who produced that song? Because I remember Vic Mensa kind of said like, "Oh yeah, like my producer wanted to get like show me other styles of music," and he put on Pinkerton, and he's like, "Yeah, it quickly became one of my favorite like albums or something like that," and definitely wanted to do some sampling of it. So
Let's find out.
yeah,
I'm just googling stuff right now mainly.
are we still talking about Let It All Hang Out?
I believe we
Yeah,
are.
why the inclusion of the child chorus?
Yeah, I don't know. It really
Take us to your daughter.
Yeah, that's a really gross lyric.
Yeah, House of Lot reference there. I want to see pretty ladies on the dance floor, and the kids come in, dance floor.
Yeah.
Take the classic line, take me to your daughter.
Yeah.
Oh,
Take
it was
us
produced
to
by
your
No
daughter.
ID.
Huh.
Famously the mentor of Kanye West.
Yeah. Also did
Oh.
some great production for Drake.
Yeah. So, yeah, we got off on quite a tangent there.
Oh, wow. Yeah. We're talking about Weezer here.
Oh yeah,
We're talking about Raditude.
the band Weezer. Yeah, let's talk about tripping down the freeway.
Yeah.
I really like. I think like of the main selling point of this song is the chorus, because I think
Yeah.
it's I tripping down the freeway is a great like turn of phrase, a great image in your mind.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's a really fun chorus, and that really like kind of like carries the whole song.
Yeah.
Even though this song does also a little bit suffer from some cringy lyrics.
It really does.
You went out with somebody named Kevin Green.
Yeah. I mean, you could have made up any name. At least, like, you could try and made it, like, rhyme and flow well.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, you're making shit up. You can literally say whatever you want.
You can say any name you want, and you specifically chose one that doesn't
Kevin
rhyme at all.
Green.
Then I was about to
Maybe
say,
it's a real name.
then again, what could rhyme with wait? And then I realized lots of things.
Yeah. Kevin Hate.
Kevin Tate. Taint. Kevin the Taint.
Sharon
Tate.
Tate.
Sure. Or Shirley Appleby, mispronounced. This is a song, I mean, we've talked about a lot of songs like this on, like, especially Make Believe and Green, where it's like, it's just a Weezer song. It's like quite middle of the road. It's catchy. It's got a fun chorus.
I think this is an incredible song. I think I ranked this
yeah?
as number 2 on. I ranked this as number 2 on my list.
You did?
Actually, I really like this song. The verses,
I like it too, for sure.
I think the verses are so catchy, or the choruses at least, not the verses at all.
Yeah.
I think it's cool how they change up every chorus by like changing
Yeah,
the
they
years.
increased the year by 1.
Yeah, but yeah. Did you want to add something, Tyler? Because at some point I want to talk about the second verse.
I don't really have that much to say about this song. Just the phrase "tripping down the freeway" with the apostrophe and no G makes me think of "Dreamin'" from Red.
Yeah,
a
that's
better song.
another great song.
Hey, these Weezer guys.
It reminded me of this other band, Weezer.
Tweezer.
Yeah.
Like fish. Anyway, what did you want to talk about with the second verse?
I think the second verse, I don't know if I'm interpreting it right or not, but I think it's really gross. Like,
You withheld the physical
physical
love I need.
I said, hey, I'm going to play the field. And it's like, you broke down. And, like, it sounds like he's like...
They were like fucking with each other.
Well, it almost sounds like he's saying, like, oh, like, you won't put out? I'm going to go find someone else then who will.
Yeah,
And
pretty
then
much.
she
And just like
breaks
emotionally like
down and,
manipulated her until she gave in.
yeah, that's like... I really hope that's not what he meant.
But it definitely was what he meant.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
like-
also when you I'm reminded of Aerosmith. Like there was a phase like in the 90s, like, oh, we're gonna start bringing on pop songwriters to hit the charts, and like those lyrics. Not that Aerosmith has ever been like a lyrical mastermind.
No, of
but
course not.
they're just like, I find whenever people bring on songwriters, there just is a whole new element of like emotional unhealthiness and grossness and manipulation and just overall like the meanness layer level
Yeah.
of these songs goes up as soon as any band turns to outside like songwriting professionals.
Yeah, and
And I'm really feeling that here.
Yeah.
and that song "Dreamin'" it really reminded me of "Dream On" by Aerosmith.
Actually,
Oh,
I have in my notes here that
good.
the lyrics to this song really remind me a lot of like Red album lyrics. But I think like something kind of weird about this album is there's really not a lot of guitar solos on it, and this is one of the few, if not the only one. I can't really think.
No,
of,
I think they're
Maybe they're
they're
actually-
sometimes a little bit like layered.
Yeah.
like they're not always like sort of super brought to the forefront like they
Yeah.
would be in older albums.
I think this has a really cool sounding solo to it. It reminds me of the solo to Jimmy Eat World's "The Middle." At least like the guitar tone and kind of the way.
Is that the one Jimmy Eat World song that we all know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh, I almost bought the deluxe edition of that CD when we were at The Beat Goes On the other day after we saw Solo.
American.
Yeah, $17 though for a used
Yeah.
copy. I don't know.
Yikes.
I don't know. Hard to say. Still has the deluxe edition sleeve, the same deluxe edition sleeve that Blue and Pinkerton Deluxe have.
Oh, nice.
Actually, I think they're slightly different, so it's probably similar to one of them though.
Okay.
Same label or something reissuing them. I'm gonna stop talking about physical media.
Okay.
Forever?
So,
No,
do we
of
have
course
anything else
not.
to say about either of these songs before we go to our famous shootout?
I don't know how I'm going to choose one over the other.
Oh, I have a clearly defined feeling on this.
I do too.
Okay, so why don't we do this? So we have the two songs. We have Let It All Hang Out and Trippin' Down the Freeway.
Actually, no. I know which one I'm going to go with.
So why don't we... I'll count to 3, and then we'll all say it at the same time.
Okay.
And then we'll see...
Is it 1, 2, go on 3, or
No,
1,
1,
2,
2, 3, say it.
go? Okay.
Okay? So here we go. We'll see. I should be able to hear 2 other people's voices. Okay,
You should.
here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Tripping down the freeway.
Oh!
That was good.
That was so fun. Yeah, so Tripping Down the Freeway, congratulations.
How did that
officially.
tie?
Yeah, that's interesting that
If we all like it more than the other.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's probably me not thinking through the list that I cobbled together.
No, I had it listed above. I had Let It All Hang Out listed above Tripping Down the Freeway on my list.
Okay.
But I've now
Come around on it.
Yeah, reconsidered it a little. Well, like it's also like, yeah, it is to a certain degree. You're rating things in a vacuum, but then like when things stack up one against the other, you might change your tune
Yeah.
a little bit. And speaking of tunes, we've got 3 more.
Oh.
The next track we've got in the top 3, first of the top 3, we've got Put Me Back Together.
Oh yeah, jeez. How did this one make it this high?
Because I had it at number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a really good song. Like I said, this is the All American Rejects co-written song. I believe one of the guys is named Tyson, just because that's a very classic name for that kind of person to have.
It really is.
But yeah, so this was co-written with 2 of the guys. Maybe it is only 2 guys. I don't know anything about the All American Rejects other than their songs, which are...
See, I thought this one sounded like very out of place on this album, kind of in the way that it sounded like similar to the Weezer style, but different enough. Like I'd written down that like I thought it really sounded like a female-led like a pop punk band from like the mid 2000s.
Especially that one chorus where all the instruments drop out and he's in the falsetto going like, "Here, it's clear," and all the instruments come back in. That's a very un-Weezer-like arrangement.
I could really see that song being sung by a female. I think it's a good song. Like I was kind of surprised it beat out like Tripping Down the Freeway.
Yeah, I think it was roughly on par with those songs, I'm pretty sure. A lot, very much like I'm Your Daddy, and then the 2 songs we just mentioned and Put Me Back Together. We're all very close to each other, which is sort of what I was talking about with like sort of the homogenous middle of the album.
Yeah.
Like personally I think this is a really good song. Like it's really catchy. I like the chorus.
I think
I
it
like
is
the sound of it.
I do too.
Like it's the lyrics aren't actively bad, I wouldn't say.
No, I feel
Just looking through them right now.
from what I remember,
His lips are lined with drool.
Yeah, it does have it does have a little bit of the classic like
Weezer awkwardness.
this just like this period of theirs, just like the cool fool kind of rhyming.
Yeah, that's a or like the even worse, put your hands in the air and wave them like you don't care.
Yeah, it does hit some of those, but yeah, I mean like it's bad in a more interesting way. You know, he's talking about his jeans needing a patch and stuff.
Yeah,
And honestly, when you said it, like the melody entered my head
Yeah, it's a
far
very,
more
very
clearly
catchy song.
than any of the other songs that we've been talking about.
Me
So.
better. Yeah, but even though I ranked it number 2, I don't have a ton more to say about it.
I think
it's
I've
just like
the least amount written for this one.
Yeah, I just think it's just like they're going for the same thing that they're going for with Trip It Down the Freeway, Let It All Hang Out, and I just think they executed a little better in this song.
Yeah.
I would rank this at the bottom of those 3, but I still think it's a great song.
It's reasonable.
I think the lyrics, like, I feel like the lyrics don't really, like, they feel empty, kind of, like,
Yeah,
they're
it
kind of
like
sparse,
very
like,
shallow.
yeah,
lyricism.
the put me back to like that's a little more of a cliche than like Tripping Down the Freeway.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
Let It All Hang Out.
But no, I will definitely not argue that this is a good song.
Yeah, and apparently I saw a little bit of a quote from the All American Rejects guy where Rivers had like sent them an email after it ended up being like recorded and put on the album and stuff. And Rivers was like, "Oh yeah, like and like so like they're a big Weezer fans, which you can kind of tell. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like any like pop rock, pop punk kind of sound is obviously gonna like draw some inspiration or just enjoyment from them. But yeah, so he said that Rivers emailed him and he was talking, like at the end he was like, "Oh, P.S. I really miss your guitar playing on like the final version of the song." And the guy was like, "Oh, that made me like really happy," and like that was in my like starred emails for a while. And I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
That's nice.
Wow, yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah.
Having some
That's gonna be us soon. 5 years from now.
5 years from now, we'll be co-producing like Weezer albums.
5 years from now, we will be the new Weezer. It's gonna be like Dead and Company.
Okay. Number 2 is
Hey, shut up.
it's If You're Wondering If I Want You To, I Want You To.
Hey, come on.
Cool on the podcast.
Oh.
We're calling the numbers now.
He's right though. It is
Okay.
open parentheses. If you're wondering if I want you to, close parentheses, I want you to. Chazzy, why don't you start us off since apparently you're the number cool guy now. Why don't you tell us what you think about the song?
No, I think it's a great song. Have it as my number 3 track. I think number 2 is a very respectable place for it. The lyrics are obviously kind of cheesy. They do have some of that like very specific thing, like I took you to Best Buy, you took me home to meet your mom and dad. It's kind of like dinner at Palermo's to split a cheese fondue, except this isn't nearly as bad as that line. Okay.
Go on.
Well, okay. Free to disagree with that.
Go on.
I think like the song as a song, like it flows well. Like there's not a lot of parts where like the lyrics feel like they're like crammed in, which is one thing I always hate with any song really, is when the lyrics don't really fit and they kind of have to fudge syllables or stretch it out. This one kind of, all the parts go through well together. What am I talking about? I don't know. I think the main riff, like the do 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 do, I think that's really cheesy. I don't think it takes away too much from the song, but
Yeah.
But
It is what it is.
yeah, it is what it is, right? Like you gotta, I love the song for what it is. I can't like be too critical of it. It really is just like a very like straightforward pop rock song. But I think all the parts of it work really well together. I think it's a great tune.
I'm looking right now at a quote from Rivers talking about this song, quote, "Kind of a true story inspired by a situation with the woman who ended up becoming my wife eventually. I don't want to go into too many details because it's kind of personal." Like, looking at this, you don't leave much else to like. You kind of describe every relevant detail.
Well, I mean, I don't think that he is drawing these details necessarily from like his act. Well, I mean, like
Really? Your mom cooked meatloaf,
he
even
didn't-
though
he
I
didn't-
don't eat meat. I dug you so much I took some for the team. Your dad
his
was
wife
silent.
is Japanese, right?
Yeah.
And didn't he not meet her until adulthood?
Yeah, I think.
'Cause this definitely
Oh, true.
sounds
This is
way
a very
more like describing like a teenage
adolescent,
kind of
yeah.
like an adolescent kind of romance
Yeah,
for sure.
maybe. I think I always just assumed it was with his wife, so I kind of just assumed those were things they did when they were older. When did Best Buy become a thing? I don't know. I guess
Probably 90s.
it was definitely a thing in the States before Canada.
Definitely by
That's
2001.
something we were watching Titanic.
Chris, definitely by 2001 in Baltimore.
What?
Oh, serial reference.
Yeah.
The other podcast that exists. There's Serial and then there's us.
Can you imagine?
I can.
Anyway,
Guys,
We'd be-
that cereal
we'd be
are
so
pissed,
famous.
Like, were taking their thing.
Yeah.
Though, like,
Stole the idea.
it's a good hook, but one, I feel like the 2009 production again kind of ruins it. Like, it is so,
it's
like,
very
to my
overproduced,
ear,
I
it is so
think.
compressed that,
Yeah.
again, Smart Girls comes in with, like, the big thud with the phrase Smart Girls, and you're like, oh, and you're kicked into the chorus.
Yeah.
And this song, he really is, like, kind of screaming girl, but the song is so, is compressed so
Low
flatly.
dynamic range.
There's no dynamic range, and the whole song just kind of stops and then starts back up again. And you can tell they're going for this real big, like, kick and a thud of, like,
Yeah.
girl!
Yeah.
And it doesn't really land at all.
Totally. Yeah. For me, I had this lower than you guys did. I have a tough time with the lyrics. I don't think they're very good. Like, it's a very different like, I mean, like, he got specific. You have to give him that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it just doesn't work for me. Like, it kind of seems like it kind of seems like he also like read that review and we're like, oh, like, I'll put in some specifics, like, here's the kind of t-shirt you were wearing, here's the movie we watched.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay.
It does paint a bit of a picture.
Yeah, but it's
yeah,
not a
I'm-
very interesting picture.
No, it's not.
Oh,
I'm
you
really
ate
not a fan
meatloaf
of-
for dinner.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of
Wow.
that, and I'm not a fan of the chunk with, like, we watched Titanic and it didn't make us sad, even though,
Shut up.
as we
Yeah.
found out, it's a reference to Naked Gun, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But viewing it in a vacuum, I strongly dislike it. I like the chorus, okay.
Oh, like, this
Yeah.
whole thing is cheesy from front to back.
Yeah.
But it's
you-
kind of like, you know, like, they knew it was pretty dumb
yeah,
to
yeah,
begin
for sure.
with.
Well, I mean, like,
This song always makes me smile for some reason. Just like putting it on,
yeah,
just
it's a fun
it's a
song.
fun
for
song.
Sure.
It brightens my day.
Really, like, listening to the lyrics, I don't like the emotional tone he has. Like, that whole, like, oh, that it's a very stereotypical Rivers situation. Like, oh,
Yeah, like,
I
I'm
like
not
her. I
sure.
don't know if she likes me back. And in this,
Yeah.
he's like, come on, like, tell me.
Yeah,
Like, let me know.
it's true.
Make the move. I don't have all night.
Yeah, it's also like, why don't you make a move?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
do
And like,
something.
I get like
Yeah, see-
wanting someone to make a move, but
Yeah.
being like, make a move, like, saying like that is
Yeah, I
just
think
like,
that's an interesting idea, especially because it's like really.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, like,
a lot of guys are expected to make the move.
yeah,
right?
I think that is definitely like a feeling that a lot of people resonate with. Like, it's good in that regard. I'll give it that. Like, that is like a very common feeling of like I wish you would just do something.
But
and that would
express,
make it a lot
express
easier
that.
for me.
Don't go like, don't have all night, sweetie. Like,
Yeah, I'd be like, TikTok, I'm Rivers. Like, I'm a super cool guy.
I'm Rivers.
Like,
I'm gonna go eat meatloaf and
I'm gonna go play the field and be in VIP if you're looking
I'm
for
gonna
me.
gaslight you. But yeah, you guys are right. I've come around a little bit on this song. I think it's a little better maybe than I initially gave it credit for.
it's a weird kind of feedback loop of how I think they viewed that song versus how I think I view that song. Like, for Can't Stop Partying, like, they thought it was a banger.
Yeah.
You know, when you hear it, you're like, oh, these people think they're putting on like a big, like, Katy Perry, like, whoosh summer hit thing. And for this song, like, they know that it was cheesy.
Exactly. Something else, if you enjoy the song, or even if you don't, then you should definitely listen to them playing it live on Letterman. It's pretty easy to find on YouTube. And on top of like,
Isn't that the one with the girl where they do the back and forth?
With the girl.
no, that's not that one. But this
Oh,
one,
okay.
I think that's Go Away. You might be thinking of. But this one, no, they've got the whole Letterman band playing like the whole horn section, all the guys from there. So it's like a huge band playing this. Like, you've got other guitars, like keys, all the horn sections, like a bunch of other stuff. And it's a lot of fun, that version. It's like well recorded too. So it's not just some like horrible audience live
Yeah, like
recording.
a phone camera.
Yeah, it's professionally recorded. I think it's if you enjoy this song, then you should definitely do yourself the favor of listening to that version.
No, sorry, I'm totally looking at this YouTube video where Pat is playing guitar and Rivers is singing with this girl, Sarah
Barillas?
Barillas. Yes. It's not on Letterman or anything, but
Yeah, I think that's a different thing.
all right. That was an interesting take on it of like,
Yeah.
the back and forth with the guy and the girl.
Yeah.
I probably would have liked the song a bit more if they had done that
You know
in the
what?
actual version
You're
of the
right.
song.
Really? I wouldn't have.
I think I agree. Did she didn't do fight song, did she? She did love song? Did she do love song? I'm gonna wrap you love. If she had love song and fight song.
It definitely was not fight song.
Fight song is Rachel Platten, I believe. But Sarah Bareilles had another hit at a similar time. It wasn't Roar, it wasn't fight song, but it was. Let's try and hit it. Sarah Bareilles. What was her big single in the early 2010s? It might be. It could be. Maybe. Let's look at her singles on Wikipedia. Ooh, no. Brave.
Oh, Brave.
That was it.
There were like three different similar sounding
Yeah.
female empowerment songs
Yeah.
that came out like within like a month of each other, and it was Roar, Brave, and Fight Song.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
I
So
forgot
I'm
about.
super glad we figured that out.
Yeah. Also, thanks for fanning that notebook.
No problem.
Getting me.
You can call me Elle Fanning.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why her name is that.
Do we have anything else to say about this track before we move on to the number one?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Don't think so.
So, the number one song on Raditude, as voted by us,
Unanimously.
unanimously, I should also say, it's not Kevon Looney's basketball reference page that Tally mistakenly opened up, because I want to make sure I get the full title right, because I don't have it written down here. And of course, the title of the song
the title.
is
Cursed
I Don't
again.
Want to Let You Go.
Don't want to let
Another
you go.
conspicuous
A
departure
closer.
from Weezer Styles.
Totally.
Another
And-
drum machine track.
Totally.
Oh.
And another great closing track.
Amazing.
A very
closing
pretty
song.
closing track.
And they have been on
It's so
quite a little
melodic.
run of that.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw something that called it like very like 50s inspired, like
I think it's very Beach Boys inspired.
yeah, or Elvis
Incredibly.
even. Like the chord progression is very
Yeah, that's
like,
very 50s.
yeah.
Like,
Even if the song doesn't exactly sound
Yeah.
like that, but
It's weird that another band that I really used to like, Arctic Monkeys, you can always count on them to have like a big opening song that gets you amped up for the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And Weezer is always good, even at their worst. They always have a way to kind of tie it all up with a pretty thing that just gives you like this nice warm feeling of like, oh yeah,
except Butterfly.
that's true.
But that's
I keep forgetting about Butterfly.
we hate Butterfly on this podcast.
Yeah, we should rename the podcast to We Hate Butterfly.
Ooh, I left a kind of a verbatim repeat of our discussion of Butterfly on our Let's Talk Music of like, closing tracks. And it was like, Butterfly's not a good one. It would have been great if they had used this other bonus track called Long Time Sunshine. And a lot of people were mad and thought I was being too harsh on Butterfly.
A lot of people really like
A
Butterfly.
lot of people like Butterfly.
I mean, I don't.
A lot of people like Butterfly.
Guys, is this Pinkerton redo?
Pinkertune, where the TO is a 2.
No,
No? Okay.
it won't be. We're talking about I Don't Want to Let You Go. So, Chris,
From the
let's-
album Raditude by Weezer.
okay. Well,
What were you going to ask me?
What's the problem? Chaz?
someone talk about this song.
I don't know what it is about this song that makes me like it so. It's just like they're not trying as hard. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same kind of like feeling to like what's the feeling? Like the feeling of this album is like a ring pop or something. Like some like gross piece of like really sticky candy.
That just kind of ruins your day.
Yeah, it's just like oh, and it's like I chose this. Like, why did I do this? Why did I
Eating
think
an
this would be
entire
good?
bag of
Or, like
chips.
Fun Dip or
Oh,
salt
Tyler,
and
don't
vinegar
tempt
chips. Chaz and Tyler are huge chip fans.
We've got a store right near us, so
Yeah.
We have a store near us.
So what can we do? Not eat bags of chips.
They're there at the store.
That's true. It's just like, hey, let's take a step back. Let's take it easy. Let's just, make
There's a nice
Let's just make a good
60s,
song.
like moon over the beach shimmer,
Yeah,
Beach
totally.
Boys Like, not trying too hard, like you said. Like, they're not putting on a show. It's just a tune that you feel like Rivers totally dug out of the Alone collection
Yeah.
and spiced it up with it could have just been him. Like,
Yeah.
the rest of the band doesn't, I think, need to even be there. It's the drum machine, the
Brian's
synths.
got those backup vocals.
He does always come in
Got
clutch
some
with the backup
nice
vocals.
layered vocals on this one. There was not enough Brian used on this album.
There's not enough like
Usually
any
like
of the band
8
on this
times
album.
throughout a podcast, I'll be like, "Oh, great use of Brian's backup vocals." But I think this is the first time I've brought it up, and we're on coincidentally the best song on the album.
Yeah, definitely like with the pop sound comes like less of an emphasis on instrumentation, which means less of the other band members really getting their chance to do anything interesting.
And to bring up that quote from Brian from the beginning, this feels very much like a Rivers tour de force that he brought to the band and said, like, this is what we are doing.
Yeah,
Not just,
totally.
here's half the songs in a direction, let's go there. It was like, he had to convince all of them one by one to do a super mainstream pop album.
Yeah, well, do any of you guys have anything else you want to say before we sort of transition into our final feelings on
I've
the
got a
album?
bit more to say.
Yeah,
I
go
think just like kind of how the song slowly builds up. Obviously not to the extent of Only in Dreams, but Only in Dreams is kind of a comparison I would draw to this. I think obviously like the layered vocals near the end with Brian in there as well works really well as when the guitar comes in, sounds incredibly Beach Boysy with all the like oohs and stuff over it. It really reminds me a lot of like Weekend Woman and QB Blitz off of
Good comparison.
Pacific Daydream, and those are 2 songs. Well, you know what? I'll save it for the podcast.
Yeah, save it for the pod. I really like that comparison though.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. This is also kind of the end of a whole period of Weezer where I feel like Rivers has some sort of reservation about his own voice. He's really kind of not holding it back because he is singing, but I feel like he's doing something with his voice, and some sort of like skin falls off when we get to Hurley because he's doing some crazy things with his voice in
Train
Hurley.
wrecks.
And kind of after that point, he's really letting loose as a singer, and he really hits this like new second wind as a singer, and is a really great singer after this album. And this is the end of this album, where he's still holding back and doing kind of like a reserved. He's not singing that much. He's really talking through most of the song, but it still somehow works in that he's just being super laid back, kind of whispery.
Yeah, it works in the style of the song for sure.
Yeah, and just being very laid back and pretty.
Yeah. So this album, in terms of its performance, it did 66,000 first week, which is fine, but it's also like half of what Red Album did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm
Oof.
sure like part of that you can attribute to like this is also like a crazy time for like the music industry, but not enough that like.
And also, they didn't really have that single like Pork and Beans.
That's
like,
true.
Yeah.
Pork and Beans was big for them. Yeah, the only singles from this album were If You're Wondering, blah blah blah, and weirdly I'm Your Daddy, which came like almost a year after.
Really? Was
If
Can't
you're
Stop
wondering-
Partying not a single?
Not a single.
No.
What?
Crazy. I know.
That is
So
crazy.
weird. That though, like yeah, like they, and I guess if you want whatever, that that was a bit of a slow burner. I saw something that said like within a few months of being released, it was like the most played song on K-Rock in LA, which is like a notable like rock music station. So that was a success for them for sure. But you're right, like it just didn't have the same level, and to a certain extent, I guess, on Red, they were still riding Beverly Hills hype. So that could have played into it. But yeah, definitely not a commercial success for them, which is ironic because it's like their most sort of appealing to the mainstream.
Yeah.
And then also did not do well critically. Probably their worst reviewed album. Not as bad as I thought it was. Like I really thought this was like a 1 out of 5 stars, like half a star out of 5 stars kind of thing. But like even Pitchfork only gave it a 4.5, which is closer to mediocre than it is to this album sucks.
Yeah.
And plenty of places gave it good reviews, like 3 stars, 4 stars, 3.5.
I'm noticing with kind of overproduced stuff, there's kind of a sheen that hits you right away, and it can really get you and go, oh man, like it catches your ear in a specific way. But the sheen of real overproduction like fades after not too long.
Yeah.
Other albums, like the first one that comes to mind is like 808s and Heartbreak. Like there was a point where it was like, I need to listen to this, and then after you get over that initial stage, it
Yeah,
kinda,
it's like
fades
it's very
out.
like it's I mean, like we've compared it to candy a few times. It's like that sort of like
Yeah,
initial
it
like
is.
you take a bite and it's like so sweet, it's like tasty, give me
And then
more.
your mouth dries out.
Yeah, and then you kind of like, and then like by the time you're on like the 10th starburst, it's like,
Ugh.
what am I doing with my life? I have a hole in my cheek. But yeah, so more mixed to negative reviews than terrible reviews. I think it's more over time it has come to occupy this place in both culture and Weezer canon in general that is like more overwhelmingly negative.
Because, I mean, looking back, all the plot holes of, like, a rock band that has lost all relevance and is struggling to get it back. Like, bringing on songwriters, all the cheesy pop trends, like, rapper
Going
guest
mainstream,
verse.
yeah.
It's hard to think of a band that, like, kind of stooped as lower than that.
Yeah, they went to a bad place on this album. But that's kind of what I kind of wanted to bring it back around to Brian's quote that you mentioned, Tyler, at the beginning, where he's saying that Rivers said that this is just one album. There's going to be more albums. So that really struck me because, like, A, he's right, obviously. Like, they went on to make more albums. They wanted to make much better albums. But just the idea that, we've talked a lot about how it's very easy to sort of compose this narrative for Weezer, where this is like their dark ages, like Red into this, and then her, like, this is the middle of their big
This is the
dip.
trough.
Yeah, totally. The nadir, if you will.
I was just thinking that word.
Speaking of nadir, did you know? Do you remember that the actor that plays Abed is in Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. And DC Pearson is in it too.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so is Dean.
He is?
Yeah.
Dean Pell.
Jim Rash?
Yeah.
When?
When Tony Stark is giving the whole presentation of like the maybe is that
That's
might
Age
be
of Ultron,
that's
I
what?
think. Age of Ultron?
No, I don't think it is.
Well, he's not. Tony Stark isn't in Winter Soldier.
You know what? It might be Civil War.
Okay.
I apologize.
Hey, that's okay.
All those
Yeah,
people
so-
were brought on by the Russo brothers.
Interesting. So just thinking about it that way, does that change your perception of this album at all in terms of like helping you look at it outside of a sort of narrative? I mean, the fact that is also a contemporary sort of take on it, and we now have the benefit of seeing their output,
The fruits of
since
their
then.
labor,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. The fact that this was a low point for them that they sort of climbed their way out of subsequently. Does the idea that this is just one album, that they were trying something different, that even though it didn't work, that it gave them sort of a different take on things that helped them in the future? Because you look at they I don't think they make White Album without making this first, sort of, or having this period first. And whereas I don't think this lives up to the idea of like this sounds like old Weezer. I think White Album does live up to that a little more with this added influence. And so I guess what I'm saying is, do you think that seeing it as one album or sort of an outlier change your perception of this Weezer narrative?
To be honest, not really. Because it never felt like after we get to Raditude, like I like Hurley way more than any other Weezer album we've talked about in a long time. I like
Save it for the pod.
Everything Will Be Alright even more than that. I like the White Album even more. So they're kind of on this upward trajectory.
Yeah, it is very easy to plot out this course of them.
Like they hit this
better.
trough and then they really start peaking. I'm really excited to talk about these albums because they are so good. But I don't think they're good because Weezer felt they had something to prove. It seemed more like they just learned how to get back to their basics, because these are four guys who know how to make a great pop tune, and it just felt like they strayed away from that and then decided to go back. It wasn't any sort of external, like, it didn't feel like Hurley was made from a sort of like everyone hates us kind of perspective.
Yeah.
They were just like, this is the next batch of songs, and they were just better than the one before.
Yeah. Yeah. And not until everything. I mean, like, everything will be all right in the end is like.
That's very much like a commentary on the past
exactly. Like that
20
that
years
like
of
maybe
Weezer.
more than any other like album I can think of is more of like a response to critical reception of another album. Like
Yeah.
it is weird. Like the big song off of that album is singing about what the fans felt about a different album, which is so weird.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Food for thought before we get up to that. Like, wouldn't it be interesting if Everything Will Be Alright was the self-titled Weezer album, and the one after that we call the White Album was called something like Everything Will Be Alright?
I mean, that I like that idea.
But anyway, yeah. Chaz, what do you think about Raditude? Was it something that they had to get out of their system, or could they have just sat quiet for 2009?
I don't know. I mean, it was their last album on Geffen, I believe. So I don't know if there's some sort of weird, like, to fulfill like a contract, almost like kind of the conspiracies that were going around with
The Drake.
If you're reading this, it's too late thing. But I don't know. I think what was the question?
I
think it?
Like, how
think
do
it
you
needed
feel
to be
about Raditude in the place of Weezer's narrative, which is always so addicting to try and put together this grand tapestry?
We talk about it a lot. How there's a.
I think Rivers needed to kind of get the like mass like pop appeal or like mainstream appeal like a little more out of his system. And I mean, looking at it like nowadays, he's kind of getting that back again, like his lust for like having a very like radio hit like poppy song. But
for sure.
I think the way they were doing it back then was kind of wrong, because it alienated their own fans or like isolated them, and it didn't really go with who like Weezer was as a band. Like, if they wanted to do kind of mainstream pop songs that were going to get them big, like almost like to get another Beverly Hills, they should have almost, I guess this was probably before the album came out, but been doing songs more kind of in the vein of Foster the People, because that was a band that was hitting it huge with pop rock songs. I guess that was a little after, but
yeah, that was
I think if
2012,
if Weezer wants to get another like huge radio hit, I think they should really focus on writing a pop song that's like really sticks like to their roots.
To their like core competencies.
Yeah, to their core competencies. And nice job using
business
that business
Chaz
term
will
that I threw out a couple hours ago before we started this podcast.
Talking about small business ideas.
Yeah. But they should really stick to their core competencies and try and write a pop rock song, and then really try and push that instead of like, releasing, say, like Feels Like Summer as a single.
We'll talk about that when we get to
yeah, exactly.
PD.
Yeah, I mean, like as weird as it sounds, I feel like sometimes Rivers needs to be put in his place.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like without it just really seems like he needs a guiding hand to a certain degree,
like a good strong producer.
Yeah, exactly.
Being like, ooh, don't do that.
Yeah, I think that he has a tendency to create like sort of like he'll have like little like nuggets of gold, but they'll be like wrapped in poop. And so it's
I find he like,
I'd love to make this gold sculpture,
but
I don't want all this poop in the way.
I was thinking like he's a very like light-headed person. It's like, or whatever, and like he can get lost in tailspins very easily. Another way to think about it that is just kind of coming to mind now is like, even without thinking about what's going on in the politics of Weezer and their label, or Rivers and his own emotions, like
The politics of label.
there's just the fact that
Like the
You're very
politics
proud of
labor.
that.
Go on, sorry.
Just like the fact that fashion goes in 20-year cycles. And they started in the 90s, back when kind of this guitar rock was winding down. And it wound down fully by the early 2000s. And a lot of their albums have felt kind of listless since then, of just them being like, well, like kind of bridges to nowhere. Like,
Yeah,
well,
they
this
really
is an
know
idea,
what
let's
direction they
go
wanna
with
take.
it. And it feels like it might be a coincidence that it kind of locks in with the decades, but at the end of this decade, it's kind of like they have nowhere to go but up. And it's
Yeah.
also as like they start going, you know what, like kind of fashion at large is like, oh, you know, the 90s, now that they're 20 years ago,
Yeah,
they were pretty dope.
totally.
I feel like they start hitting their stride again as obviously as like the moods and whatever musical styles that they drew from
Yeah, their
way back in the
classic
beginning come
sound
back into style
comes a little
again.
bit more into vogue, and that sort of like it sort of makes them feel like it's okay, because like
like the music they're good at came back into fashion.
exactly,
like,
so they can make a song, they can make an album they feel like is going to have mainstream appeal, but it still sounds like a bit more like their
the
like
kind of music that they
their
make.
core competencies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Weezer is a band that makes a certain type of music, and this album is such a weak departure. It's such a big departure, but it's also
Yeah.
like such a complete flop in every way. It like lends nothing of interest to the listener. Really, like grand total, like I don't come away liking Weezer at all any more than I did, and maybe even a little bit less.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to listen to it again, really. I have no plans.
Yeah, I might come back to some songs, but I also felt that way about Red at the time, and I didn't really end up doing that. So
Yeah.
but
I think I'll probably come back to this album more than I go back to Red.
Really? I found talking about Red left me with a lot more positive
Talking about
emotions
Red was incredible. Like that was
I
such a-
respect Red more than I like Red.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
To
doing
some
doing the
extent.
podcast gave me more respect for Red. It didn't make me
Exactly.
love it
Yeah.
much more. Than,
I still
like,
think Red obviously has its big songs, but there are some really like good, catchy songs off this album that I think Red is kind of lacking in.
yeah,
Because they are very leaning into the mainstream. Like, the image that comes to mind about this era of Weezer is that meme of, like, whatever show it was where Steve Buscemi was like, how do you do, fellow kids? And,
30
like, the
Rock.
hoodie and everything.
yeah, totally, very much so.
Like, just, like
Like,
you
it
think
was sort
you're
of when,
fitting
like-
in, it's like, ooh, you're
Yeah.
really not.
It was sort of when like the fact that they weren't teenagers became very glaring. Like
Yeah.
they really like it felt like they were very out of
They
touch.
were all
with-
dads,
Like
yeah.
they were out of touch with like what was cool, and so trying to be quote unquote cool instead of just trying to be Weezer kind of ended up being their downfall.
So I'm probably going to say about exactly the exact same thing at the start of the next episode, but I can't exactly pin down what it is about the music that clicks again when we get to Hurley, but
Yeah, it's not that different.
yeah,
you can
with, like,
you can
looking-
hear the seeds.
listening to it.
Yeah.
I can't say what it is that is that much different between like Red and Raditude and Hurley, but I just like it so much better, and it feels way more catchy. And there is just maybe it has something to do with their relationship with Geffen, but there is just something is off, and then it kind of clicks back into gear,
Totally.
and it's just kind of straight up from here on out for a while.
Yeah, I think there's kind of clear like stepping stones like between like Red to Raditude to Hurley, where you can
Yeah.
see a lot of the same stuff between songs. But
Similar sounds,
yeah, a lot of the same sounds and kind of like
the same songs.
but executing them in different ways.
yeah. Whereas I see like Everything Will Be All Right in the end to be a huge departure
Totally.
from
Definitely.
those three albums.
Yeah. Does anyone have any more final thoughts they want to throw out before we wrap things up?
The three of us in the room, that was a fairly painless look at kind of this album that I've been dreading for a while.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
like,
I definitely
starting
like,
with Blue and Pink, which is like, oh, way off in the distance, there's Raditude, and like I am not looking forward to it. And having gone through it now, like,
yeah, I do feel like it's like I said, like it has sort of grown to take this place in pop culture. I think just because like
it is so bland.
not even that, just that the things that like you can dislike about it are just like it's so stupid. Like
Yeah.
it's like very it's like All Star by Smash Mouth or something. Like what's bad about it? It's just stupid. Like the cover and the title and like the whole
Yeah.
aesthetic and feeling you get around it are so stupid that like and then once you actually listen to the songs, it's like, okay, like
It was dumb all the way through.
yeah, it's not like garbage. It's not unlistenable, other than like certain songs.
There's some unlistenable stuff on that album.
For sure. But yeah, so that is going to do it for our review of Raditude. I will list the tracks once again from 10 to 1, even though it's on the screen right now. So you've got, starting from 10, Can't Stop Partying, The Girl Got Hot, Love Is the Answer, In the Mall, I'm Your Daddy, Let It All Hang Out, that's right, Tripping Down the Freeway, Put Me Back Together, open parentheses, if you're wondering if I want you to, close parentheses, I want you to, and I Don't Want to Let You Go. So yeah.
In the mall.
In the mall.
In the mall.
In the mall. So, we made it. Next up is Hurley. Before that, do we want to do our plugs for albums that we might want to compel people to listen to?
Ooh, I have to look at what albums I'm listening to real quick.
Okay, Chaz, why don't you start us off then?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But something I didn't forget about, and I promised myself I would do this, was plug something that's not an album. I was recently spent about a week and a half in California hiking at a lot of the national and state parks there. And somewhere between Sequoia and Fresno, in an area called Squaw Valley, there's a place called Bear Mountain Pizza, and it is by far the best pizza I've ever had in my life.
Cool.
As someone who there's a lot of foods that I don't eat, so I hadn't had pizza in probably close to 7 months at this point.
Wow.
And this is really the first time I'd had it in a long time. And even though like it met all these restrictions, like it was easily the best pizza I've ever had in my life. Incredibly cheap as well, too. So that's what I'm plugging today.
Nice, that's a great choice. Tyler, what do you got for us?
I have really been digging Isolation by Kali Uchis lately. The lead single was After the Storm with Tyler, the Creator. And that was a great, nice, felt like a cut off of Flower Boy. Just a real bop. And the rest of the album is very R&B, soul, a lot of like Latin styles in there. And they all gel super well with a lot of like modern R&B electronic styles. Like there isn't really a bad song in the mix. They're all just like, they've got a great groove that gets your toes tapping. Songs like Tomorrow are produced by Kevin Parker of Tame Impala. Like a lot of things you wouldn't think would go over super well. Callie's voice rides a lot of different styles very effortlessly and sounds super fun and catchy across all of them. Yeah, so it's a great, I don't know, follow-up to last year's Control by SZA. Not that they are very different albums, but like listening to one makes me want to listen to the other. So that's the album that I'm going to plug this time.
That's a great reco. I'm going to go with an album that I sort of recently came back around to. It's one I listened to a lot a few years ago, and I'm now sort of realizing that it's a great album. It's Boys and Girls by Alabama Shakes.
Oh,
That's a good one.
It's their first album. I know a lot of people might only know them for Don't Want to Fight. Hold On is from this album, actually. Their big single was Don't Want to Fight from their second album, Sound and Color. But this album, yeah, like Tyler said, you might know Hold On from it, but it's just a great album all the way through. Like I love the production style. I love the vocals on it. I love just like, I don't even know how you describe it. Like it's kind of like southern rock influence.
yeah, I love that.
It's got like a slow loping kind of pace to it.
Her whole persona is like specifically like this lady from like the 40s, like Rosetta Tharpe or whatever, like who's like a gospel lady who played this like Gibson guitar, really distorted, and like a lot of her vibes became were a big influence in early rock and roll.
Yeah, yeah. I love the sound. I love the vote. Like She is an amazing singer. Name's not coming to me right now, but yeah. So yeah, and
Alabama.
it's a great summer album too. Like
Ooh.
it's very much like a outside on a hot day kind of sound, and like summer nights kind of sound too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this episode of this in the garage. Thank you all for listening. As always, we'll try and get another one in the can soon, so we can keep releasing these on a slightly more regular basis.
Yeah, we love all the feedback we've been getting because it is
Yes.
almost
love it.
all glowingly positive.
And we love that.
We love any feedback, really.
We love any positive feedback.
As long
It
as
doesn't have
people
to be
are
I mean, it's a
enjoying this.
podcast. No one's going to be like, I listened to 2 hours of it and it sucks. But
That's true.
But yeah, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you out on the old dance floor with Rivers and Lil Wayne. See you next time.
we can't stop
Podcasting.
podcasting.
Podcasting. Bye.